Right now at the Home Depot, you can stock up on storage solutions to fit your needs, like the Husky heavy-duty shelving with weight capacity up to 2,500 pounds per shelf, so it can handle all of your garage organization needs. Your power tools or your weightlifting set, if that's what you're into. Because the right storage system for you should fit what you need it to. Right now, get up to 20% off select online storage solutions that can handle anything you throw at them, on them, or in them at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
From LAist and APM, American Public Media, it's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largis. Plug-and-play solar lets you take control of your power, no crew or rooftop overhaul required.
Europe has had these for years, and they call them balcony solar. It opened up solar power to those that were living in a small apartment, offsetting their power consumption.
Author Kao Kalia Yang lost her first homeland to war and found the meaning of home on the east side of St. Paul, Minnesota.
This blue house is bigger than any other house we've known, and we gather close, and we think life is pretty good. And all 11 of us teach each other about this new life that we've entered.
Cheap Old Houses are back with an 1895 Arkansas beauty for under $40,000. All of this, plus we're answering your home improvement questions at 877-864-7460. Coming up next. It's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largis. Energy bills are climbing, but now there's a new kind of solar that doesn't require a crew or a rooftop overhaul, and in some areas you don't even need a permit. It's called plug-and-play solar, and it might be the simplest way yet to start generating your own power. Scott Dixon from Everyday Solar is here to tell us how it works and how you can put it in your own home. Scott, is plug-and-play solar really as easy as just plugging it in?
Yeah, it can be. So obviously you're going to need to get your hardware and the size of solar panels. So the most common ones would be 100 watts, 200 watts, or 400 watts. And it can just be as easy as plugging and playing. Recently, especially out in Utah, there's what are called inverters that you can literally take a panel, plug it into the microinverter, and then directly plug it into your wall, an exterior outlet, and that can offset your monthly power bills. Europe has had these for years, and they call them balcony solar. So it opened up solar power to those that were living in a small apartment where they had a balcony, they did not have a roof, where they could also participate in offsetting their power consumption. And now it's kind of coming over to the U.S., and states are adapting it over time, and Utah has been the one who's led the way. But I would expect others to, even within 2026, to adapt to similar standards.
That's so interesting. So walk us through how exactly this works, knowing that we don't know all the words that you probably typically use in this industry. But I guess the confusing part for me is maybe I understand how it can collect solar power, but then how is it feeding back into your system?
Yeah, it just kind of offsets what's being consumed. So instead of, it's basically, think of it as a 2-lane highway and traffic going both directions. Usually you'd be just consuming power, so it'd be going to your appliances, but now you have power flowing in the other direction. So it offsets some of that traffic or some of that power consumption. It's not a cure-all. It's not going to completely eliminate your power bill, but it is a great way to get started in solar.
And so when you say it's a 2-lane highway, so there's power coming in that is being collected by the solar panels and then going out as you consume it, is that just to the circuit that it's plugged into, or is it in some way branching out?
Really, the best scenario you can have is a dedicated circuit. So it'd be a dedicated 20-amp circuit that goes to an exterior outlet. Usually these have some kind of cover over them to keep them water sealed. You would be plugging the plug-and-play system into that dedicated circuit, and that is the best practice. So you don't have other appliances on that circuit. And then that is providing power back to your 100 amp or 200 amp panel. And then it's basically offsetting another circuit that might be consuming similar power, where you're able to offset what you usually have to pay for. Now you're actually providing that from the solar panel and this plug and play system itself.
And are there things that plug and play cannot do that traditional solar array can?
Yeah, so right now, kind of batteries continue to increase in their popularity and having localized storage. So in the past, when you would install solar on your home, one key point to make that a good investment was what's called net metering, where you could provide extra power back to the grid and they would give you credits. So they were kind of serving as a massive battery. And it was this amazing battery that kind of lived on no matter what season. And maybe in the summer, you pulled some power from that. And then in the winter, maybe you added, or vice versa. Well, net metering is kind of going away in a lot of areas. So having localized storage in batteries is the key. And these plug-and-play systems, most of them would not come with any kind of storage. That's when you're getting into more the portable power stations, which are going to have capacity. You could maybe move them around the house, or they could possibly back up your home and you can plug them into where you'd usually plug a gas generator.
Interesting. So what can 1 kilowatt hour really handle?
So for my examples and going through my own applications at my homes, 1 kilowatt hour could run my sump pump for about 24 hours. Now, mine was an extreme scenario where the sump pump ran really frequently, literally every 10 minutes. So most people run a sump pump for multiple days in a power outage scenario. And then when it comes to refrigerators, depending on your size, for most refrigerators in the US, you're looking at probably 1.5 kilowatt hours to 2 kilowatt hours for a 24-hour period. Now, remember, with portable power stations, if you have solar panels, even if the power stays off, you might be able to replenish that energy with your solar panels. And that's a really big feature of the portable power stations is the solar input side of the equation.
Do you have any tips for making sure of your local electrical codes or regulations for these devices?
Yeah, usually if you stay within the realm of portable power stations, there's not really any electrical codes associated to that because it's completely within the portable power station realm. Where you do start getting into needing to know your codes, most likely needing a licensed electrician, is when you want to back up your home, kind of your whole home, with these larger portable power stations. That's usually going to involve a 30 amp generator inlet plug or a 50 amp generator inlet plug. And then that connects to your main electrical panel. And you need to have what's called an interlock there. And the interlock is critical because it is a physical piece of metal that makes it so you cannot have grid connected. So you can't have your 200 amp breaker on and the interlock circuit breaker on. So you cannot feed from both the grid and the portable power station. So that's where you get into codes you absolutely do need to be following. And some jurisdictions, you need a licensed electrician to do that type of work.
So interesting. Well, this is fantastic information, and we thank you so much.
You bet.
That was Scott Dixon. For more information on home solar, go to everydaysolar.com. Right now, we're tackling your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Or you can leave us a voicemail anytime. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hello, my name is Zaki Nasheed. I'm calling from Baton Rouge, Louisiana on a rainy day.
Well, we appreciate the call. What's your question today?
Well, I'm considering, I have a garage door opener that's gone bad on me. It's about 20 years old probably. And it's gone bad on me. And I was told that the computer panel is going out, so it won't work with my remote control anymore. So I'm looking at replacing that. But I was researching, and then I ran across belt drive garage door opener. That's quieter, requires less maintenance. How easy it is to transfer from the chain opener to a belt drive opener.
Okay. We've got Zach Detmore, general contractor for This Old House, here on the line to help. Zach, what is the difference between a chain and a belt drive door opener?
So, first thing is I love your name. You're the second man I've met my My childhood friend growing up was Zaki, and I haven't met another one since.
Oh my goodness,
But
really?
us Z named men have to stick together, you know?
I'm with you on that one.
We're all the way at the end of the alphabet, get no love, you know? We're always the last to
The
go. It's
last
tough.
one, the last one, right? Everybody, the last one, you know.
Anyway, so what we need to know about garage door openers, there's a couple different things, but basically you have a motor that's mounted, and we're talking about overhead garage door openers. And then there's a track that comes off of it, and there's chains and there's belt drives, but all it's doing is moving this carrier that's tied to the front of your garage and moving it in. And when you buy a new garage door opener, be it belt drive or chain drive, they sell you the whole track assembly. So for you to replace your unit, either way, you're replacing the whole track assembly. So it's the exact same amount of work either way. So
when you say the whole track assembly, is it the piece that runs down the middle, or are you talking about the entire thing that even holds the garage door?
That's a good question. I'm only talking about that piece that runs down the middle that's connected to the garage door opener. So basically there's two bolts that get mounted to the header above the garage door. Then this black bar with the belt or chain around it sort of extends to that motor. And then that's hung from the ceiling. However, but when you buy the new opener, be it a $130 unit or a $600 unit, it's going to come with that whole assembly, and you're going to replace it and dispose of the one you have. So it's the exact same amount of work. Just buy whichever one you like, and you're pretty much set up for the same project either way.
Have you ever been in a garage or heard the noise it makes when the chain breaks?
No.
Twice in my life. Once when I was a kid and once in our house now. We've been, the chain assembly has broken.
Yes.
It's the wildest, loudest noise in the middle of the night every time.
Really? And you say, that's it. After two of this happening, I'm moving my bedroom out of the garage.
Yeah.
I should have a house. I should go in the house.
Yeah, I should get a house.
Do you have a belt drive? Did you have a belt drive now? Or did you stay with the chain?
Yeah, what would you prefer, Zach? Is one better than the other?
I think in general, the quietest units available seem to be belt driven, but my guess is when you're buying them, there's something in the specifications that talks about sound. And I think I would lead with that if that's your primary concern, because I'm sure there are really noisy belt driven ones on the more inexpensive side that they're probably a little bit quieter, but they could be comparable to a chain drive. I would probably say belt just because in general, those are quieter, but there should be some metric on there saying that how quiet it is.
Well, my main concern is not so much the noise. I'm more concerned about the maintenance and upkeep opposed to the noise.
Then I would just buy a high quality one either way. I've never had the belts give out, but if we're talking about, in a car, a timing chain always lasts longer than a timing belt. So if you're not concerned about the noise, seems like to me the chain would last longer, but then Jen's telling me 2 of them have snapped on her and scared the dickens out of her. So
just here to help.
I think you get what you pay for. So if you spend $130 on a garage door opener, you're going to get $130 worth of value. If you spend $350, you're probably going to get a higher quality product in general.
All right. We appreciate the call.
Take care, Zaki.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Coming up, we answer more of your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. It's This Old House Radio Hour. Today's episode is supported by Fast Growing Trees. Spring is here, and it's the best time to get your yard ready with Fast Growing Trees. Every plant is grown with expert care, receiving the right water, nutrients, and sunlight it needs before it reaches your home, so it can thrive in your yard. Plus, their Alive and Thrive guarantee means your plants arrive healthy and ready to grow, no green thumb required. You even get ongoing support from plant experts 7 days a week to ensure you can grow with confidence. Right now, stock up for spring with the plants and trees you need. Select varieties are up to half off. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code This Old House at checkout. That's an additional 20% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code THISOldHouse. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code THISOldHouse. Now is the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use This Old House to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. Today's episode is supported by Quo, spelled Quo, the modern alternative to run your business communications. Quo understands just how much the basic stuff matters, like how you should talk to customers and keep your team on the same page. Their cleaner, more modern setup can make everything feel smoother and bring the level-up mindset to your business. Quo allows your entire team to handle calls and texts from one shared number, so there's no more missed messages or disconnected conversations. Since everyone sees the full thread, replies are faster and customers feel genuinely cared for. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/thisoldhouse. That's quo.com/thisoldhouse. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. You're listening to This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largess. Right now we're tackling your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Or you can leave us a voicemail anytime. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Pam.
Hi, Pam. Where are you calling from?
I am calling from Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah.
Thanks for calling in. What's your question today?
So my question is, how do you handle whistling pipes? I have a 1970s ranch with a basement, and with cast iron pipes that I actually love. I've been told that they are in good condition, and I feel like it's one of those homes that's really solid and built well. But I've got whistling pipes. It started out in one area. Now it's like throughout.
You're noticing it everywhere.
Yeah.
We've got Zach Detmore, a general contractor for the show, and Ross Terthui, a building engineer, both here to help us out. Whistling pipes, guys.
Yeah, is this like whistling pipes like Billy Joel Piano Man? Like, what are we talking about?
Right. No, it's like haunted sound, like ooh, like it's like a ghost. I mean, it's not a ghost. This home is good, but it's eerie. It's an eerie whistling.
Oh, an unsettling whistle, not a musical whistle.
Right.
Ooh, like that. Ooh.
Right. Okay. At first, I was like, "Is this the wind?" But no, it's not.
Can you make them whistle like by turning a faucet on? Like, can you recreate the problem?
As soon as I turn off the sink, it starts to whistle.
When you turn off the sink, you said.
Well, when I'm turning off if I'm using the sink and then I turn the water off, maybe 30 seconds ish later, the whistle will come.
No, this makes no sense to me. Maybe Ross knows what this is, or Jen. I am completely stumped. I have no idea what this is.
Oh, no.
What do you guys got? Jen.
We've talked about my shower whistles when I turn it on for a few seconds, and I kind of understand like that we can answer. Right.
Oh, no.
But not when you shut it off. This is different.
I'm watching Ross opening a bottle of whiskey right now, so this is not a good sign.
My question is stumping you guys. Okay, no, I listen to
We've never stumped Ross,
I love
so
that.
this is a day.
Okay.
No,
I'm in
listen,
Ross.
Oh,
all right. So it's definitely domestic water piping, right? You don't have your heating piping. You don't have cast iron radiators or anything like that for heating, right?
No.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. So, and you're saying that after you run the hot water and the cold water in both cases, when you turn it off, is it hot or cold related?
It's both cases.
In both cases. Okay.
I think it started out in the kitchen sink, and then I started hearing it in the bathrooms.
Is it with any fixture, like any sink, any shower, like any water like device? Okay.
Yep.
So I think this could be related to a thing called water hammer.
Okay.
And so, not to say that it is the case, but I do know that when we have water hammer, which is basically a phenomenon when you turn the water on and you stop the water abruptly, meaning you shut the fixture off, like you turn your faucet off or you turn the shower off, that action closes a valve. So the water was flowing in a pipe. It had momentum. It was moving. And then all of a sudden you abruptly stop it. So the first thing I would want you to do is when you have if you have a faucet that's adjustable, I want you to slowly close and turn it off, like very, very, very slowly. So it starts to drip. And
I like
then
how slowly you said that.
And then close it.
Slowly turn it off.
And then close it and see if you get the same whistling. Then if it's that, then what you need is a thermal expansion tank. You need an expansion tank at your water line coming into the property, into the building, into the basement. That will solve it. Or a water hammer arrestor, it's called.
So we haven't stumped Ross. Is that what we're saying?
Right.
I'm going to challenge Ross on this. She said it's like 30 seconds later. Isn't water hammer instantaneous?
No, it echoes. It echoes. Yeah. So
echoes.
So you think about it, right? When you close that in a house, it was like an 1860s house. When you close, like, let's say the laundry was done and the valve shut, you would hear like almost like a light banging sound for probably 15 to 20 seconds after. It was a good
kind of like ricocheting back and forth in the pipe, basically.
Think of like a sound wave, basically, right? You close it, the water has momentum, it hits that valve, it has nowhere else to go, so it bounces off that valve and it goes back in the other direction, and then it bounces back off the end where it can't go anywhere back to the street. It bounces back, and every fixture, every fitting, every bend has a chance to create that vibration.
I think we can figure out if this is right now, Ross.
Let's do it.
All right. So here's the question for you, okay? Are you the type of person who rushes through life and people say, wow, you're always moving so quick and you have so much energy? Or are you the type of person that is just like never in a rush, takes it easy, nice and slow? What kind of person would you fall in, A or B?
I feel like I'm in therapy session. A. I'm definitely A. I rush through.
Then Ross is right.
I need to slow down.
Yeah, you're slamming that thing shut.
I'm curious.
This is like when the dentist told me I brushed my teeth too hard.
Right.
You got to follow up with us. You got to do that test. You got to follow up with us and see if that solves it.
Okay.
Pamela, I'm sorry. We've given you information you didn't know you needed.
I need to tell my therapist about this conversation. No, thank you so much. This was great. Slow down for life and for the faucet.
TOH therapy hour.
We'll run those tests and we wish you luck figuring it out.
Thanks so much. I love your show. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Call us now to have your home improvement or DIY question answered. 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Or leave us a voicemail anytime. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Jillian Free from Los Angeles, California.
Hi, Jillian. What's your question today?
So I moved into a 1924 Spanish bungalow earlier this year, and the windows have been replaced with like a 90s, 2000s metal, kind of funky windows. And I like the idea of restoring more than renovating. And I want to know how crazy of an idea is it to salvage old windows and try to fit them into my existing ones versus replacing with new wood ones. And I would love some advice on what I should be looking for when I'm searching and, how much of an undertaking this really is.
Absolutely. Well, we've got Zach Detmore, a general contractor for the show, here on the line with us.
Yeah, I love the idea of salvaging. I guess, how much free time do you have, Jillian? Because this is a serious undertaking.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, so I've got the perks of a contractor dad, and so like an inflated, sense of DIY ego.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have some free time. So this was a window replacement goal of a couple of years, because just budget wise, I'd have to save up anyway. So, I've watched some of the YouTubes of having to peel the paint off and think about lead and all that stuff. So if I did want to do this undertaking, like what what am I getting myself up for?
It's a really long pause.
Say a lot of work for mediocre results. That's what I think. And I'm someone who's very much salvage over buy new.
What's mediocre about it?
I think what's mediocre is you have the process of trying to find something old that fits in the existing opening. So it's not going to be a perfect fit. So you obviously have to either frame the opening larger to accommodate the bigger window, or you have to pack it in to fit a smaller window. In either case, you're left with an easy project, which gives you a smaller opening, or a complicated project, which gives you a bigger opening, but more labor and collateral damage both in and outside the house. I think if I was going to sum up my thoughts on this project, it would be purchase new windows and take all that amazing energy for DIY you have, put it into something that would be less frustrating and tied to specific dimensions. Because it's tied in with the value of the house. It's tied in with taking in the visual interior, exterior. I think it's just so difficult. And you do want the windows to be consistent through the house for cohesiveness. You don't want this window from that house and this one and then stained glass and then, so I just don't love it. I think it'll be a disappointing final reveal. Yeah.
I think I needed to hear that because I'm feeling a little bit relieved.
Okay, good.
I don't have to restore this one piece. Well, thank you. That's helpful. Are there any tips I should look out for when I'm shopping for modern windows that would be more like true to the time period?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the problem is when you go to look at windows, you're going to gravitate towards something historic. But if you don't have a tremendous amount, it's not a big deal. But like a very beautiful, historically accurate window is going to be 4 times what your entry-level standard window is. There are some amazing companies that build beautiful things. It's just about whether the value's there because you're doing it over several windows in the house, right? And that cost can add up quickly. So my recommendation to you would be to go to a lumber yard or a place that sells windows, a place where you can look at several different brands and compare them, feel how they operate. That'll really help you gauge your comfort level with the quality of the products that are out there.
That's a great idea. I haven't thought about going into a lumberyard like that. Well, thank you. Helpful.
No problem. Good luck.
Thanks.
Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Or you can leave us a voicemail anytime. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, my name's Melissa Bermudez, and I'm calling from Newbury, Massachusetts.
Hi, Melissa. What's your question today?
Yeah, my question is about prioritizing home repairs. I live in a 1950s Cape here, and we moved in about 4 years ago to a big fixer-upper, and we've done a lot of work, but we're at the point now where we have some foundation issues and some HVAC issues, nothing urgent at all, but things that we were told when we moved in we might want to address.
Mm-hmm.
But we also do want to do some more substantial work eventually, probably to the structure of our house. It's a little smaller than we'd like in the long term, and we're just really trying to think about how should we prioritize home repairs in the world where we would want to change the home eventually. In this world of also, we kind of need to address some things in the shorter term.
Absolutely. How do you decide what to do now and what can wait for maybe a possible larger renovation? Yeah. Well, we've got our This Old House general contractor, Zach Detmore, here on the line, as well as our mason, Mark McCullough, both to help sort of sort through this. So, Zach, I know you have these conversations a lot when you start working with a homeowner about what to prioritize. How do you start that conversation?
Sure. So typically when I talk with someone like you, Melissa, I get, sort of a list of things maybe you're concerned about and a list of things you want to do in the future. And what can be helpful for me is sort of having you state the problems you're trying to solve for, because it gives me a better perspective on where you're coming from. For example, maybe you say, well, we're on a budget, but we want to put an addition on. What's sort of the rationale behind the addition? Is it we need more storage? Because if you're on a budget, right, maybe it doesn't make sense to do that addition. Maybe it makes sense to put in better closet systems or finish your basement or what have you. So typically, I like to try and get you to address sort of what's happening in the house right now with the HVAC and the foundation that's scaring you, that you think, oh, and then maybe Mark and I can shed light on that quickly.
Yeah. So we are in a pretty standard New England Cape style home where we've got our front roof really slopes straight towards the street. And that's also the same side of the house where we've got these cracks in our foundation. Our foundation is also one of the older style cinder blocks instead of concrete. And that's exactly, where the cracking is. And when we got our home inspected back when we moved in, the inspector was like, these cracks, they're fine. I would keep an eye on them, but eventually you'll want to address them. And so that's, again, where we find ourselves today is like, we go down to our basement all the time, look around, and it's like, okay, these cracks are here. We should probably do something about it. But ultimately, we do need more space. We have got 3 little kids, and our upstairs just has 2 bedrooms right now. And the main addition we probably want to do is like dormers on the front to have 2 bedrooms up there. And so I that's to the point of changing the structure of the home. I'm sure that would change the weight on that front part of the foundation. So that's really what we're thinking about on the foundation.
Got it. Let's have Mark speak to the foundation issue first.
Okay. Your inspector was correct. Those cracks don't scare me because they're pretty much going to be there, whether it was a full concrete pour, a cinder block, or a concrete block. If there are no bulges in the wall, you're probably okay to even repoint those block from the inside, which I don't like because the problem always starts on the outside. But if you don't see any bulging walls, what you want to look for is the grade outside. Make sure water is not coming near the foundation, meaning everything is running off. So if you have downspouts, just make sure the downspout is tipping away from the house. Yeah. So that's how easy this is just get the water away from your house, and you're pretty ready to repoint that foundation from the inside if needed.
Okay. And the repointing you mentioned, is that like what type of person do you hire to do that? Or is that something you can do yourself?
So that's a mason. And only a mason. Like yourself. But if you guys are handy, it's definitely something you can do.
And then in terms of your addition and understanding what you should tackle now, if you're planning a large project, which it sounds like you are, is to sort of limp by as long as you can until you can afford to do the big project, because it's going to be always more affordable to do one large project rather than a project a year for 3 years, just because of the oversight and the dumpsters and portable toilets and all of those general conditions, as we call them. But when you start a project like that, typically you have an architect who works with a structural engineer, and they're going to come assess the loads that are being put down by the weight above. And they'll decide at that point whether the foundation is, strong enough. And you may find it may make sense to sort of bump the second floor out the back, because the house may look old from the front, but it's a little bit of a mullet house and a little larger in the back.
Did you just call it a mullet house?
Business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right. I have never heard
Wow. Zach, that's bringing the good old days back for me.
I can't unhear that.
So that would sort of be my thing. And same goes for your HVAC. Put it off because you're going to have to modify the HVAC system if you're adding square footage. So if you can limp by, maintain the system for as long as possible, and then work that new system into your new renovation. So that's the way I would tackle this.
Thank you guys for all the help. Appreciate it.
Melissa, thank you so much for the call.
Bye, Melissa.
Take care, Melissa. Bye-bye.
If you have a question for us, leave us a voicemail on our hotline, 877-864-7460. And we can answer your question next time. Coming up, Author Kao Kalia Yang shows us her old house.
I also remember that first winter when the snow started falling from the sky, and my cousins and me raced outside of the blue house and we opened our mouths trying to swallow as fast as we can, because this is free ice cream.
That's next on This Old House Radio Hour. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largis. Coming up in 1895, Victorian charmer on the National Register of Historic Places for under $40,000. But first, we go to St. Paul, Minnesota. Author Kao Kalia Yang was born in a refugee camp in Thailand. By the time she was 6, she was learning what America looked like through the window of a drafty blue duplex in St. Paul. It was crowded and cold. And for her family, it was everything.
My name is Kao Kalia Yang, and I'm a writer. This is my old house. Summer of 1987, we are newcomers to America. I was born in a refugee camp in Thailand. For the first 6 years of my life, it was all I knew. I thought the whole world was a refugee camp. But here we are in America. We're newcomers at St. Paul. My family were housed in the projects. Behind a line of bars, there's this blue house, a duplex. Upstairs, there's an old man and a woman and their 2 teenage children. But downstairs, in a 1-bathroom, 2-bedroom house, aunt and uncle live there with their 8 children. The blue house was built somewhere in the late 1800s. The house was already close to 100 years old by the time auntie and uncle lived there. It is like many of the houses on the east side of St. Paul. When you look out the windows, you see Hmong families driving by in cars, Latino families, Black families. But if you just look at this blue house, you think it is a regular American house. It is a regular family living a regular life. You don't know that it is a family of new Americans. You don't know that it is this group of people who has come from a war that the world has no idea about. This blue house is bigger than any other house we've known. And we gather close, and we think life is pretty good. That was when we played hopscotch in the old basement among the dirt, broken concrete floor. We drew images of each other in chalk there, hoping that it would last all of time. It was there that we ate rice and water and sugar, a treat, on our knees in front of the black and white television that auntie had gotten from a church basement. I'm 6 years old, my older sister is almost 8, and all 11 of us teach each other about this new life that we've entered. All of us get to sleep on mattresses for the first time ever. Never mind that our mattresses were stacked on top of milk crates, but we know also that the beds on TV are different. From the front sidewalk, if you look at this blue house, you see a 3-season porch. It's supposed to be a porch, but it's where my boy cousins sleep. In the wintertime, their hair freezes over and they let us touch it so that we can feel the ice and try to break it. Whenever they breathe, the clouds would come forth from their mouths and we pretended they were dragon boys. You can't enter through the house from the front porch because the bed is so wide that it blocks the door from the front. It also blocks the door into the house, so my cousins climb in and out of a window. So to get to the house, you have to go through the back. And when you go through the back, you get first to this tiny little kitchen with a round table at its center where the adults can gather. In that kitchen, there's a window fan, trying to get the smells of pickled green and jasmine rice out of the house and trying to get the cooler wind of the outdoor inside. Then you walk down a little hallway and there's a bedroom. That's the bedroom that auntie and uncle share with their 3 youngest kids. And then there's a tiny little bathroom. Nobody wants to spend time in the bathroom because it's pretty dark and a little bit scary. Once you pass the bathroom, you get to the girls' room. And that's where my 4 older cousins sleep, on twin mattresses on top of milk crates. And they would play us Chinese songs, Thai songs, and then this American singer who they were all listening to called Richard Marx. I also remember that first winter when the snow started falling from the sky, and my cousins and me raced outside of the blue house and we opened our mouths trying to swallow as fast as we can. Because this is free ice cream given from the sky. This is a gift for being in America. It was fun for us, but the adults around us really struggled. They missed the warmer weather. They missed the things that grew forth from the ground. That's when Auntie and my mom and all of the other aunties started taking plants inside, something that they had never done before. My dad had a banana tree, and we saw the world for a brief moment with a banana tree against the snow. Auntie and Uncle lived in the blue house for just over 2 years. They knew that they would need more room. And then the boys, sleeping on the porch, they would get these colds and they wouldn't go away because the winters were so cold. They decided to move out. And it wasn't something they told us kids about. It felt like it just happened one day. And then they moved further away from us to the other side of the city. And we saw them less. But my father would drive us by, and every time we look at the house and we'd say, that's Auntie and Uncle's house. That's the blue house. It's an interesting thing. When the blue house was taken down, it felt like the grass grew where it once stood just overnight, and it felt like it had never been there. But every time we pass by, I see the ghost of the house still standing, and I see all of us back then playing on that back stoop, piece of concrete, whatever you wanted to call it, and I could still hear my auntie's laughter. And even now as a mother, when I pass by with my own children, I look at that plot of grass and I tell them that's where the blue house I loved once was.
That was Kao Kalia Yang. Her latest book, The Blue House I Loved, is out now from University of Minnesota Press. Do you ever see an old house online and think, maybe that could be my life? A place with history, maybe a porch swing, and stories in the walls. You start to picture yourself there, and it feels so real. That's the magic of Cheap Old Houses, an Instagram page created by Ethan and Elizabeth Finkelstein that uncovers old farmhouses and historic homes on the market for next to nothing. Some are listed for as little as $10. But the cheapest homes can be the most expensive to fix. So we asked them what it really takes to bring these old places back. Hi, Ethan. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hey, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
And this old house contractor, Zach Detmore, is here to tell us where the charm ends and the work begins.
Hey, Jen.
Our listing today is an 1895 4-bedroom and 2.5-bathroom single-family home. With over 2,000 square feet of space, this 2.5-story home features 2 balconies, which are located on the 2nd and 3rd floor. Along with its charm, it's also on the National Registry of Historic Places. This home's character and charm comes from the detailed woodwork and the entry staircase, fireplace castings, and its covered front porch. The single-family home with 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths is located at 517 North Boyd Street in Monticello, Arkansas, with an asking price of just $39,900. So, Elizabeth, this home is so unique. Can you quickly describe the architecture?
Absolutely. This is the shingle style of architecture, which was a style popular in the late Victorian period. You mainly saw it on large seaside estates, like on the New England coast. But here you have it in Arkansas on a rather modest house. And that style is distinguished by sort of large swaths of shingles all over the house, often in different shapes. So in this house, you see different levels having different shingles.
There is so much character inside this house.
Yeah, there's so much original woodwork in the house. I think the staircase is massive. I think it goes the full 2.5 floors. I would love to see it from the inside because the staircase alone is just quite a beautiful piece. You know, there's also some rooms that seem to have some beautiful full scale windows from floor to ceiling, and that really just makes for amazing light coming into the home. I mean, the kitchen definitely needs help. And there's some places, the bathrooms and things, but it seems like a lot of things are in pretty much somewhat working order.
Yeah, similar to a lot of listings we've covered, this home has some rooms that feel untouched, and it also has some others that have been somewhat updated or they feel dated.
I think the magical combination of cheap and old in some places, if you are in a town where maybe there hasn't been a lot of investment over the years and people can't flip the kitchens, flip the bathrooms, change everything every time they sell the house, things just stay untouched. And I think because sometimes the cheapest houses, because of that, have the most incredible architecture left behind because no one has had the money to rip it out and do the latest trend.
Exactly. And Zach, what do you think of this listing?
So when you look at the front of this house, if you look at the column that's sort of holding up both of these porches and travels all the way up to the underside of the roof, it physically looks like that has sagged, which tells me there's structural damage caused by rot. And what that means is you're going to have to repair it, but because it's on a rather complex facade, it's going to be expensive because it's not cheap to rebuild a house that's like this. There's a HVAC system that appears to be run under the house, and the ductwork sort of has rust and it's sitting close to the grade. I would be very surprised if there wasn't rodent, fecal matter, and all sorts of things in this ductwork system because it's sitting sort of outside the conditioned envelope. So I definitely wouldn't plan on reusing it.
Womp womp.
Well, the house is $42,500. And as we've mentioned many times before, this house is on the National Register of Historic Places, which may qualify it for state and federal tax credits for work that you do on the house. One of the really nice things about that is it's not only aesthetic work that might be the color of the house or working on the architectural details themselves, but there are basic things like gutters and roofs and maintenance things that contribute to saving a house over the years that you can also qualify for tax credits for.
And Zach is saying that maybe he doesn't want to reuse the ducts. You could potentially leave the ducts there and then use newer heat pump sort of situations in the walls and have an outside and inside HVAC system in the house and qualify for tax credits on the heating system. It doesn't have to look visually perfect for the Historical Preservation Organization. It really just has to upgrade and modernize the house so it can be livable. And so just, I think, check on those things when you're looking at these tax credits and use it on maintenance things and look at what the restrictions are for your area. You want to know before you buy the house.
I would say the state and federal tax credits for buildings listed on the National Register of Historic Places are probably the most underused thing out there. It's a really wonderful incentive. And if you're already listed on the National Register, it's pretty much a 1 or 2 pager that you have to fill out to get kind of free money.
How does a house get listed on the net? Like, how does it get chosen or meet the qualifications to be on that national registration?
There are many ways you can get listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The most common is that the owner or members of the community submit a nomination. And then it's considered eligible for the National Register. And then you put together a full report detailing the history of the house, if it's individually listed, or the greater district, if it is part of a larger area. You get the same incentives, whether it's an individual house or it's in a larger district. It's a much more arduous process to get listed. Once you are listed, it's easy to take the money. So you should find that out when you buy a house. In fact, a lot of people list a house when they buy it. They want to get it listed because they intend to do restoration work on it and would like to claim the tax credits. I believe this house may have been listed in the 1970s. All of this is online at the database of the National Park Service. If you are unsure, every state has a state historic preservation office. We call it the SHPO, SHPO, and you can give them a call and ask them if the house is listed. And then they will let you know. And if it is, you should be claiming that free money.
What kinds of qualifications do you have to be to think my house could be considered?
Don't quote me on this. Everybody check for themselves. But I think it has to be at least 50 years old. So at this point, mid-century modern houses would qualify as well. And you just have to make a case for its connection to history in some capacity. There are houses listed that have a social history connection. Somebody very important lived there. Oftentimes, they will try to connect the architecture to that. So if the person lived there during a specific time, even if it wasn't the time that the house was built, maybe the 1950s alterations that happened while that person lived there would be considered significant. So it's all very subjective, which is why they write an official report detailing what exactly about the structure is significant, so that then when they are judging whether or not your work should qualify for tax credits, they have something to refer to saying, well, are you in keeping with what we have said is significant here? You could not take a historic structure and alter it so greatly and then go and say, give me money to do this. The Secretary of Interior has standards of historic buildings, and this is all available online. And if you go by those guidelines and you do things that are sympathetic to the building and in keeping with the building, most likely you will qualify. So it's not that all work qualifies. You have to do something that isn't detracting from the historic character of the building.
If you're looking at a house and it is on the National Register already, is there any reason that would be considered a negative?
In my book, no, and that's one of the largest misconceptions out there about preservation. The National Register of Historic Places is not the only sort of designation for preservation. For instance, in New York City, the Landmarks Preservation Commission is a municipal body that governs and regulates changes to historic buildings. That is strictly regulatory. So it's like a carrot and a stick kind of thing. There are some preservation designations that are regulatory. The National Register of Historic Places is not. It's strictly incentive-based. So it's really wonderful to be on it, actually, because it just allows you to claim the tax credit.
If you wanted to demolish the house, you could. There's nothing precluding you from doing anything you want with the house.
How interesting. Well, thank you both for being here. This is great information.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
If you want to see some of these old houses, follow @cheapoldhouses on Instagram, or you can check out their newsletter at cheapoldhouses.com. Who knows? You might just find your next home. And now it's time for one last thing. My favorite tool.
Hi, Jen. It's Mark McCullough, the show's Mason. One of my favorite tools is a trowel. A trowel is used to lay brick, lay block, and what we call slinging mud. Trowels come in various sizes and shapes. A margin trowel is just like a regular trowel. It's constructed of steel. The handle is usually wood. The difference between margin trowels is simply the size. They go from 1/8 of an inch wide to 3/4 of an inch wide. They can also be used as a digging tool. So if I'm in the garden, I have a certain trowel that would allow me to dig a certain size hole. If I was mixing a paint, I'll spin that paint and have it mixed in no time.
We'll see you next week on This Old House Radio Hour. Our show is distributed by and co-produced by LAist Studios and APM, American Public Media. This Old House Radio Hour was created and produced by Ember 20. Listen to new episodes of the podcast every Tuesday on your app of choice. You can follow This Old House on all the socials at This Old House, all one word. We'll see you next week.